Hello wrestling fans, the Wrestling Wizard here and welcome to another video. Now as you're probably already aware, the WWE Draft is just around the corner. It's so close we can almost taste it. So I thought we'd have a bit of fun in this video and make some bold WWE Draft predictions. Now obviously I'm not going to go through every superstar because that would just take forever. I'm just going through some noteworthy ones, and as always of course you can get down in the comment section, share your thoughts and opinions, your wild theories, your bold predictions in terms of which moves you think you're going to see from the superstars, and we'll have a debate as usual. Now as always, really helps this channel out. It'd be very much appreciated before we get into the juicy stuff if you could like the video, share the video, and even better, subscribe if you're new. So let's get to it. So my first pick for Monday Night Raw, and this is in no particular order, is Bray Wyatt. Now I know there's a good chance that Bray might not be included officially within the WWE Draft. However, I truly believe when he returns, he will be part of the Monday Night Raw roster. And it makes a lot of sense. The 3-hour format gives him loads of time to spread his creative wings. And it's going to be like a reset, really, if you like, with this whole Uncle Howdy storyline. Of course, Bo Dallas clearly playing Uncle Howdy. This new mask reveal that we saw at the Royal Rumble. Maybe we get more answers with Alexa Bliss too. And it just makes a lot of sense. The logical pick for Bray Wyatt to be part of Raw. Now my first pick for SmackDown, I'm going with a faction in the Judgment Day. And this makes a lot of sense because Rhea Ripley, after all, is the SmackDown Women's Champion. So surely it makes sense for the whole faction to go there. No need to split the faction up on separate brands. They're red hot. It gives Finn Balor and Damian Priest loads of options in the singles scene. Gives Dom loads of options. He can terrorize his dad if his dad stays on the brand. And talking of his dad, obviously being part of the LWO, Judgment Day, you're in a feud with those. They planted the seeds for a feud between the Judgment Day and the Bloodline. Assuming the Bloodline stay on that show, it all just seems to add up. So I'm going with the Judgment Day as my first round pick for SmackDown. Now for my second pick for Raw, I'm going with Karrion Kross and Scarlett. I feel that the Karrion Kross return has been a bit underwhelming, but this is nothing to do with Karrion Kross. He's got so much potential. I think he'll flourish on the Raw brand. You've got feuds, mouth-watering feuds like against Bray Wyatt if he were to be on Raw, or Edge. I think that would be tasty. Just give that man a chance. Karrion Kross with a bit of a reset. He's just twiddling his thumbs on SmackDown can be a big deal. Now I know he's in a feud with Nakamura at the moment, but Nakamura could follow him on to Raw. Just saying. Now my second pick for SmackDown, I'm going with Asuka. She should be kept a million miles away from Bianca Belair after what was really a shambles of a feud leading into Mania, and not a particularly great match either at that. I mean, it was good, but it wasn't like as memorable as Rhea and Charlotte. And just reset Asuka. She's been repackaged with this kind of Kana vibes character and just let it live up to its full potential. I do have a side theory which I'm going to get into involving potentially another wrestler in a moment. We'll come on to that in a sec. Now my third pick for Raw, I'm going with Drew McIntyre. I know allegedly he's a little bit unsettled in WWE, and understandably so. He nearly defeated Roman Reigns at Clash at the Castle, and since then, yes, he's been in fantastic matches. That triple threat match for the IC title at Mania was like absolute next level. But this is a Drew McIntyre that carried WWE in the pandemic era, and this was when he was part of the Raw brand. I think he'd absolutely benefit from a heel turn, personally. A more vicious and more dominant Drew McIntyre on Raw. Sign me up. Now that brings me on to my third pick for SmackDown, and I've got to go with Chad Gable. I love the Alpha Academy, but I feel inevitably at some point they'll go their separate ways, and Chad Gable can be a Kurt Angle-esque singles megastar. He has all the tools. He even has that comedic element that Kurt Angle had too, and he's just been an absolute breath of fresh air. But it's his time to be taken as a serious mid to potentially, when he needs to, upper card act. I definitely want to see him in the IC or United States title scene for 100% certainty. Hopefully we get that soon. Moving on to my fourth pick for Raw, I'm going with Charlotte Flair. I'm going with a heel Charlotte Flair. Charlotte Flair has done all she can do on SmackDown. She's wrestled everyone pretty much that she can. Of course, she lost to Rhea. She needs to get as far away from Rhea Ripley as possible. They can revisit that at a later date for what would be a memorable rematch. What a match it was at WrestleMania between the two of them. And then, inevitably, I'm sure we're going to get Charlotte Flair and Bianca Belair in a feud. Now, you might think, oh, here we go again. Charlotte Flair being pushed down our throats. But a heel Charlotte versus, obviously, a face in Bianca Belair. There's other options I'd go with, is better first round picks. But this is Charlotte Flair, and you can't ignore her status in the game. Moving swiftly on to pick number 4 for SmackDown, and this is a double pick for me because logistically this makes sense, right? Seth frickin' Rollins and Becky Lynch. Push those two back to the top of their divisions. I want to see the whole Roman Reigns Seth Rollins feud revisited. I'd absolutely love to see that. I really feel there's unfinished business there from the Royal Rumble 2022. And I also want to see Becky and Rhea go at it as well. I'd like to see that at some point. But Becky reinserted as a main event threat. She's sort of been lurking in the wilderness since her face turn. Now moving on to my 5th pick for Monday Night Raw. And I'm going with LA Knight. Yeah, it's gotta be, isn't it? That man needs a reset on a different brand. Because he's just been losing week after week on SmackDown. And he is such a main event draw. Of course, if Bray is still on there as well, they potentially revisit that. There's more meat on the bones there, I feel. They can certainly have, at the very least, an interaction between the two of them. And he just oozes charisma and star power. But he needs a big push. He's my pick for this year's Money in the Bank. Moving on to the 5th pick for SmackDown. Now, this is a little bit of a tricky one. But I'm going with the whole of Damage Control. But I certainly think there's going to be trouble in Paradise in some form of split. This could go numerous ways. The logical thing is Bayley goes on her own, does her own thing in the single scene. And Dakota and Io tag up as a tag team, which they already are. Like, just continue that arc. But also at the same time, imagine Asuka versus Io Sky. Or even Io Sky and Asuka in a tag team. That would be pretty badass. Individually, they're all absolutely fine to go their separate ways singly. But I'd be interested to see how they negotiate that. Of course, it could just be Bayley gets left on Raw. And then Dakota and Io get drafted to SmackDown as a tag team. That's probably the way it'll go. And that finally brings us on to our 6th pick. I've gone for 12 picks in total here because we could be here all day picking every single superstar. But for Raw, I'm going with Imperium. And purely because I think there's meat on the bones with Drew McIntyre and Gunther in that IC title scene. I'd like to see that revisited. It makes a lot of sense. Imperium can just get their teeth into all sorts on Raw. Some new feuds along the way that be fresh in the eyes of the viewer. I think they've done a lot on SmackDown. We don't want to see another feud with the Brawling Brutes again. And talking of SmackDown, that final pick, I'm going with Austin Theory. Then you get a switch with the mid-card titles. You get the US title on SmackDown. It means Austin Theory can have some new feuds along the way, as well as Gunther on Raw. And I also like the idea of Chad Gable and Austin Theory going at it in a United States title feud. That would be pretty cool. What do you think? Now, of course, you can't talk about the WWE Draft without talking about the NXT talent, because they are part of the draft as well. We're going to see some promotions to the main roster from NXT. Now, I've gone for 5 picks in no particular order, and I haven't defined which brand they're going to be part of, but I think they will be part of the draft. And I've gone with Bron Breakker, Cameron Grimes, Roxanne Perez, Pretty Deadly, and Grayson Waller. Of course, you can add more to the list, and as always, get down in the comment section, share your thoughts and opinions, your theories, who do you think is going to go where on the main roster, and NXT and the promotions to the main roster, and also, where do you think the feuds are going to lie in terms of the main title scene? Do you think they're going to split the belts? Do you think we're going to get this new world title that there's been speculation about? We don't know at the moment. There could be some absolute curveballs. But as always, thank you so much for watching the video. It'd be very much appreciated if you could like the video, share the video, and even better, subscribe if you're new, and we'll catch you in the next one.